the first top transfer of Barcelona and the star of the Catalans, fell under the sight of Paris Saint-Germain. The nail-biting match between Manchester United and Arsenal ended with a historic penalty shootout. Garnacho will replace Cuadrado in Naples, and Real Madrid literally lost face in El Clasico. Barcelona triumphantly ousted the royal club from the Arabian Peninsula. We're talking about this and much more today. Friends, this is a dose of football and the top 10 hottest news to this hour. Be sure to charge your royal likes. Under the last video, we didn't collect 5,000 thumbs up. But yesterday, 2 super top matches were played, which is simply a crime not to discuss within the framework of our channel. Well, I wish you a pleasant appetite and a pleasant viewing. The head of the Saudi Football Federation expressed readiness to buy Vinicius Jr. His sensational transfer is turning into reality. Lately, the trend is such that the Brazilian is becoming an unnecessary element of this Madrid team. Who could have imagined this just a few months ago? Vinicius was 100% leader of the attack last season. This fall, he even became the second player after Rodri himself. But after the France football ceremony, some kind of breakdown occurred. Possibly the position of the Brazilian had an impact in Arabia, which is capable of closing both the needs of Madrid and the player himself. The media started hyping up information about a potential Vinicius transfer. But the media is an unstable thing. Today they say one thing, tomorrow another. But the official representatives never commented on the Brazilian's departure. Until yesterday, the head of the Saudi League directly stated that local clubs can afford to transfer such a player as Vinicius. Our clubs have everything necessary for attracting, developing, and nurturing such talent. So, let's wait and see what happens with Vinicius, said the league's general director, and his words only underscore rumors about the possible departure of the Brazilian. There's no longer any doubt that such a transition is at least worth the story of the day. All that remains is to wait for an official offer from one of the Saudi clubs. Most likely it will be Al Ahly. After all, this club was linked with Vinicius' transfer. It's quite possible that the transfer could be checked in the winter window. There are no problems with the attack's left flank, but other lines must be reinforced. And to find money to strengthen the squad, Florentino Perez might sacrifice Vinicius. After winning the Italian Super Cup, Milan faced a setback in the match against Cagliari. This team is now in the relegation zone, so Rossoneri couldn't afford to lose points. But they lost, despite the clear advantage over the opponent. At the post-match press conference, the newly appointed Milan coach criticized the substitutes for poor football, and the result. The first half was probably the worst in all 30 years of my coaching career. Milan lacked mobility, the pace was too slow. Cagliari managed to get to the last third of the field. Their strategy was to play defensively. We were prepared for this and should have found free zones, but we didn't understand how to do it. Summarized Conceição. How could you understand from the words of the Portuguese coach? Milan did not have mobility in the first half of that match. And what needs to be done when a team suffers from such a lack of mobility? Correct, sign an experienced defender who performed strongly last season. As strange as it may sound, English media began to write about Milan's interest in Kyle Walker. The Englishman has informed Guardiola of his plans to depart Manchester City. The Catalan coach personally confirmed this. Milan promptly joined the negotiations. I don't understand what attracted the Italian Grand to the Joker's candidacy. But management wants to finalize the deal next week. Despite the inside information from a reputable portal, it's hard for me to imagine Joker giving up in Milan. I can easily believe the news about Saudi Arabia, but why the hell Milan? Conceição complains about the team's weak mobility, and they sign him a crashed pilot. This looks nothing less than a mockery of the new coach from the management's side. While Huicha Quaracali is packing suitcases, planning the next excursions in the French capital, Napoleon's management is chaotically considering options on who to replace such an important player. He writes about 3 footballers, specifically about Eden Jagrova, Federico Chiesa, and Hakim Ziyech. What's strange about this list? After Vic's departure, the left winger's position will need to be filled, and all the listed players are opposite flank footballers. Of course, you don't need a lot of intelligence to simply move a player to another part of the field, But in such a case, you shouldn't expect the same effectiveness from him. The coolest of all the proposed options, of course, is the transfer of Eden Zagrova. This guy is just a monster. I can't even imagine how some Grant hasn't poached him yet. But you can't just take a left winger who plays on the right flank and put him on the left flank. This will significantly cut his potential. Federico Chiesa is most likely to replace Cuadrado. I don't even want to talk about Zisha. He's been a written-off fighter for a long time. Despite usually playing on the right, Fede could adapt to the left flank. He's right, and that says it all. In short, it's hard to take such insight from La Gazzetta dello Sport, despite the publication's authority. But their colleagues from the Sport Italia portal are talking about a really good candidacy to replace Havici. They report on the potential Euro 50 million transfer of Alejandro Garnacho. This is a good price for both Manchester United and Napoli. Paris Saint-Germain's transfer of Gruzin will provide resources for the latter to sign Garnacho, and the Red Devils will replenish their treasury and be able to strengthen in the winter under a new coach. Still, the Argentine winger did not come to the court of Ruben Amorim. With his arrival, Garnacho started getting less and less playing time. David Moyes didn't even have time to warm the coach's seat at Everton before criticism came pouring in. I'll remind you, the Scottish specialist replaced Sean Dyche, who was fired mid-season, despite the team's improved performance. Now Moyes will become the head coach of Everton. In my view, this decision is a success. I mean the appointment of the Scotsman, not the rotation of the coaches. Moyes knows how to create a good atmosphere in the dressing room and tune teams for hard times. But not everyone agrees with this opinion. Former Arsenal player Paul Merson criticized the appointment. I have mixed feelings about his return. People say it's good because he knows the club, but he left 12 years ago. It's amusing that Moyes and Dyche have similar appearances. They want to control everything and work with what they have. I respect Moyes, but it's the same team as before. I don't understand why he had to come back after so many years, said Merson. Of course, I didn't see how Merson said this in the studio, but I get the impression that he just wanted to make a point. A great specialist has joined the team, who knows how to work with crisis teams. Most likely, we will see the results of Moyes' appointment on the field in the near future. Merson was moved by the fans' warm welcome for the returning Scot, reminiscing about his Everton successes. But what is he doing in the expert studio at all? Better invite me, I look better on camera, and I won't spout such nonsense. According to rumors, Manchester City aims to bolster their squad in the winter transfer window by filling problematic positions with star players. Let's start with the most relevant news. Guardiola announced at a recent press conference that Kyle Walker will leave the team. Although there is already a right back in the squad who can replace the team captain, it seems that Guardiola does not fully trust him. The Catalan coach would like to invite a more high-profile player. According to the source, Manchester City has already set its sights on passenger defender Nuno Mendes. The Portuguese is not happy with his position in the team. He would like to try himself somewhere else. And the management, in principle, is not against letting him go for 65 million euros. Such money should not be a problem for the garage. What money is a problem for them at all, when the whole country is working to replenish the club's budget? Overall, Mendes is a solid choice. His move should strengthen Man City's right defensive flank. Also, the garage does not think about acquiring Real Madrid's defender, Aurelien Tchouaméni. The Frenchman is also having trouble. He continues to be in the main lineup only because Real has a staffing crisis in the center of defense. And he is put there purely out of necessity. But I have questions about the candidacy of the Frenchman. His pass culture is not so developed. How could he be presented under Guardiola's leadership? On the other hand, if this is a personal request from the Catalan coach, then he saw something in Tchouaméni and is ready to work on his progress. In that case, the Frenchman needs to be bought. There is really a lack of physically strong players in the defense. And we have to talk about Amara Marmish's transfer. But there was news about him not long ago. Just know that things are getting closer to the move to Etihad. Barcelona might strengthen with two Bavarian stars this summer. The Catalans have long been interested in the Munich club's players, and their main object of interest remains Joshua Kimmich. Negotiations about his transfer have been going on for 2 off-seasons, but so far without result. However, next summer, Kimmich's contract ends, which creates ideal conditions for his move to Barcelona. The key argument for the Catalans could be Hansi Flick. Under his leadership, Kimmich demonstrated the best football in his career, and the possibility to work again with this coach is certainly appealing to him. Kimmich has agreed to the transfer according to the source. If the transfer goes through, Barcelona will get an experienced halfback, familiar with the current coach's approach for free. But this might not be the only reinforcement of Bayern's squad. The same source reports about a possible transfer of Leroy Sané. The German winger's contract also ends this summer, which allows him to negotiate with other clubs right now. Indeed, Sané's transfer poses an interesting question for Barcelona. The key right flank player is Lamine Yamal. Despite all of Sané's experience, it will be difficult to push the young winger out of the starting lineup. However, it's important for Yamal to rest to avoid overloads, which have already affected some of his teammates. If Sané is ready to take on a rotation role, it would be an ideal solution for the Catalans. Now Flick won't have to rack his brain about how to give Yamal a break. Instead, they could field a professional and experienced Sané. Manchester United and Arsenal played a very tough game. The first half was probably very difficult for the average football fan. After all, watching 22 hefty men, excuse the banality, chasing a ball in the middle of the field is not a pleasant experience. There was a lot of fighting and not much football. All the fun came in the second half. Manchester United was not really an attacking team in this match. And after Diogo Dalot was sent off, the Reds had no other choice but to sit back in defense. But the Londoners' attack was in full swing. It's a pity that it was fruitless. There were so many moments wasted. You understand why the Gunners are so eager to get a central forward. Kai Havertz can deliver good matches, but don't expect consistent results from him. After all, scoring is not his main task. He might be good at assists, but he simply can't score goals on a regular basis. In this episode, the German couldn't realize a 100% moment, hitting above the goal, so that we have an involuntary question. How do you manage to do this? If you missed the match, there will be a link to our Telegram in the pinned comment. There you will find a replay with all of Arsenal's mistakes. Moreover, if you like contests, cash, or whatever else, they are held there on a regular basis. So be sure to subscribe. We already have over 43,000. Igor is also a good guy. The captain couldn't outplay the Manchester United goalkeeper during the penalty kick, and also missed a few other moments. In short, the fate of the match had to be decided in a series of 11-meter kicks, and it was just surrealism. I'm sure after the final whistle, the whole football community will be buzzing about how David Raya tried to save the penalty. This should become a clear example of what not to do. In academies, young goalkeepers will be shown a replay of this series and told, remember, never repeat this under any circumstances. In the end, Arsenal was knocked out of the cup. Havertz didn't score the only penalty, and Raya didn't even try to parry the cannon's mouth. But maybe it's for the best. Why does Arsenal need to fight on so many fronts when other competitions are clearly a priority? The passenger is set for a high-profile transfer next summer, and the main goal of the French grandee will be Barcelona's defender Pedri. According to Todd Fichahi, the main initiator of this transfer is Paris's head coach Luis Enrique. The coach, who enjoys the full support of club president Nasser Al-Khelaifi, has already begun working on the future squad of the team and has singled out the Spaniard as his main priority. Enrique knows Pedro's capabilities very well from the time he coached the Spanish national team. The Canary Islands native was a key player in his formations and managed to earn the coach's respect not only with his technique, but also with his high football IQ. Now, Luis Enrique is confident that the young midfielder can become an important part of the Paris Saint-Germain project and is ready to make every effort to keep him in Ligue 1. For the French club, money should not be an obstacle next summer. According to reports, Paris Saint-Germain plans to bid $120 million for Pedri. Considering Barcelona's financial situation, such an offer could become a serious test for the Catalan leadership. Laporta, of course, is not fed with bread. Let him support any whim, but $120 million are not lying on the road. However, the transfer will depend not only on Barcelona's readiness to let the defender go, but also on the player's own desire. Pedri has repeatedly declared her love for Barca and her desire to achieve success with it. Nevertheless, the passenger plans to use Enrique's personal connections with the footballer to convince him of the prospects of the transfer. Luis Enrique is confident that he can make an offer that Pedri will find hard to refuse. At this point, it's fair to say the player is leaning towards staying in Barcelona and extending his contract. However, Luis Enrique hasn't played his trump card yet. Several English clubs are interested in signing Newcastle United's star player right away. Chelsea in London is said to be the main contender for Alexander Isak. According to British media, the club is ready to take serious steps to strengthen their attacking line. Chelsea is just lacking players in the attack, isn't it? Although Isak has already recommended himself as one of the best in the Premier League, scoring 24 goals in 70 matches. And you can believe that the leadership of the Blues is interested in his transfer. Nevertheless, the Swede's January transfer seems unlikely. Newcastle coach Eddie Howe is unlikely to agree to let his key player go in the heat of the season. However, former Chelsea forward Pat Nevin sees the possibility of an unexpected turn. I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea makes a big bet on Isak in January. As soon as it becomes clear that he might be available, Nevin told Interest magazine, not only the Blues will show interest in the Swedish forward, Arsenal might also join the fight for Isak. Pete Nevin believes that Isak would fit perfectly into the Gunners' attacking game, where he would be comfortable alongside such footballers as Martin Ødegaard and Kai Havertz. Considering the current results of the team, adding a forward of such level could be an important step for Arsenal in the fight for trophies. And somehow it's not solid to drop out at the first stage of the Cup. There are also rumors about Sweden in the context of Manchester United. After an unstable start to the season, the Red Devils may consider Isak as an option to strengthen the attack. However, the likelihood of a transfer to this club is also small, considering Newcastle's uncompromising position on the price and the stinginess of the team's new management. Arsenal really needs to make the purchase of a forward a priority. If they get ISOK, it will be great news for the fans. For the other clubs, strengthening of a similar plan is not so important. What a disgraceful match we saw from Real Madrid in the Super Cup final. The footballers in terrible form created a real mess on the dreadful pitch of the Saudi Arabian stadium, especially in the first half. I can't even imagine what Carlo Ancelotti wanted to show and what setup he gave for this match. It feels like in the locker room the coach told the players something like, go out on the field, get embarrassed, and just go home. And yet everything started so well. Kylian Mbappe scored in the debut of the match, finally avoiding being out of play. From this moment, Real could impose their game on Barcelona, completely giving up the ball, going deeper and punishing the Catalans' defense with counterattacks. But the Madrid defenders decided that this was too easy. After all, the fans came to watch a football spectacle. And Real's defense simply laid a red carpet for the attacking Barca. I will separately mention the genius of Lamine Yamal, and how he alone can turn the tide of any match. Remember the Euro semi-final between Spain and France? The match then continued following a comparable pattern. An early goal by Dusan morally crushed almost all the Spaniards, except for Yamal. In the middle of the first half, the young Barcelona winger made a spectacular shot, tying the score, after which the Red Fury spread its wings and made it to the final. The same thing happened in El Clasico. Real's early goal tilted Barcelona's players, but Jamal's genius revived the Catalans. In total, for the first half, the hosts missed 4 balls, each of which clearly showed the instability of Madrid's defense. And almost nothing interesting happened in the second half. Yes, there was a foolish removal of Chesney and a beautiful goal by Rodrigo from a penalty a few minutes later. But the picture of the game faded. Real couldn't find a way to resist Barcelona, who were playing in the minority, and it seemed as if the Catalans had no reason to push forward anymore. In the end, the match ended with a score of 5-2 in favor of Barcelona, and Hansi Flick won his first trophy as the coach of the Blue Granite team. And that's all for today. Check out the review of this match on our Telegram channel, and I thank you for subscribing to the channel and watching this video. My name is Kirill Cast, and this was your daily dose of football. Peace to your house and to your hang, friends.